all of those three when trying to kind of figure out for each wave which one would be the best for like that CC, slow down the enemy team, let me catch up type of role.
Oh, honestly, that is so interesting because, like I say, for someone like myself who participated in the speed run and I finished 6th overall, the kit doesn't feel like them, or you just felt like the kit was all underwhelming.
No, you kind of hit the main ones that I would want to really look at in terms of like Loki and Dracula. Maybe her basic is too low of a chance to stack a
Yeah.
bleed. And then also we could maybe possibly look at her passive, giving her a little bit more of a boost because right now.
How you guys doing? Before we begin in today's video, I just want to give you a quick warning. After we recorded this video and I was starting to edit it, I noticed a lot of the video was super choppy, and I don't know why it did this. I don't know if it was through the Discord recording that we did, but it might have been just a rookie error on my half, so I do apologize to everyone. However, you will still enjoy this amazing conversation that me and Brad had, talking about Alpha Wave 3, talking about some of the heroes that he used, and his journey on actually completing all 151 floors. So enjoy today's video, and I do apologize again in advance. How you guys doing? We've got a super exciting video today because I'm not alone. I am joined by Brad in the Fateless team, and we're going to be talking about basically a bit of Brad's journey through the Godforge Alpha Wave 3, because Simon told me some quite exciting news, which I don't want to spoil just as of yet. But we are going to talk about different heroes, different flaws that maybe were difficult, and kind of the whole experiences, as Brad the player did through Alpha Wave 3. So with that, how you doing, Brad? How you doing, my dude?
What is up? Good to see you, MrSneakyy. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. So let's talk about, like I said, the defeat that Simon told me, which was you were, I think, the first Fateless member that completed all 150 floors. Like you smashed all 150 floors. So I want to know technically, like, how did you do that? And technically, how did you find it as a player going through this experience compared to Wave 2 and Wave 1?
Yeah, well, and first of all, shout out to the design team. I did have a couple people hanging out with me on the final push, like in Discord. So I had people like Paul and Corey and Sham, and it was a little bit of a team effort. But yeah, I did grind super hard, and I wanted to experience what it was like as a player, from their perspective on because I work on the design team, and I wanted to kind of also play to see what it feels like to go through the tower. And yeah, Alpha 3, a big step up in my opinion. I had a lot of fun going through it. It was definitely a challenge. There was some spots that really stuck me, like the 120 Golden Guardian.
Yeah.
And some of the stages up there in the 140s were definitely a sticking point. But yeah, it was pretty smooth and pretty fun. Took a couple days and got through it.
So for like your 120, what was like the major like upgrade for you to push through it? Because I know for myself that I kind of suggested to many people was bring Achilles, right? Achilles with that bleed for a lot of the players that didn't have massive damage actually helped them push through. Did you use the same strategy, or did you try something else?
I actually was able to burst it down with Beowulf. I was finding that I was able to, if I grinded up enough to get a 6-star Beowulf, and my 6-star Beowulf was able to kind of barely outperform Achilles in my team. And then it was just a matter of, like, I was able to do enough DPS. It was just a matter of surviving that last hit from the Golden Guardian. So you got to make sure you've got some buffs up and you've got enough health and all that for that last hit. And a big help for me was using the Hound of Duat imprint on Beowulf, because Beowulf is sitting here doing a bunch of damage. And then that imprint is going to be giving you a massive barrier based on the damage you're inflicting. So I was able to kind of use that, pair it with my Beowulf, have him with the massive barrier, and then he would be kind of solo, and then he would just survive that last slam from the Golden Guardian. That's how I was able to get it down, and I didn't even have to use like the Achilles bleeds.
Oh, that's quite interesting, yeah. Because I actually used the same passive, but I was a little bit fortunate. Some people will hate me for saying it, but I was a Zeus boy. We got the Zeus. But with the Hand of Duat passive, though, honestly, actually made it so much easier than I expected it to be, because he does generate so much barrier from the damage dealt. So it's interesting that you did that same tactic, I think, with Beowulf, right? Because many people are writing off, like, if you didn't get Zeus, you couldn't complete the the 150, which I think was just completely false. It made it easier, everyone will say. Obviously, the hero was a cheat code, but it's nice to see from, you know, yourself using what I would consider non-meta heroes. You know, like what people already consider meta heroes in the Alpha Wave. So was there any heroes out of your roster that really caught you off guard, where you thought, wait a minute, this hero actually is quite strong for what I need it to do, compared to, you know, a typical hero like Gilgamesh, Zeus, that we normally kind of use to know by now?
Yeah, so in the previous two alphas, I had never had Zeus before. So this was my first. I didn't get him right away, but I did get him eventually, like when I was up in the you know 130s, 140s. And yeah, he is crazy for progression and being able to clear through content. So it was my first time getting to experience him. And you know, the thing I would say about like thinking he's too strong or whatever, I mean, the alpha can give players a little bit of a warped perspective, because like he is an eternal legendary.
Yeah.
And when the live game is out, when Godforge is actually released, it's very possible you'll play for years and not get Zeus. So like
Yeah.
for the people that do get him, he does need to be strong as an eternal Lego. It's just in an alpha, when everything is condensed down into like 1 week, it starts to feel like, oh, what? Like this is way too. But that being said, we do want to look at heroes and kind of shorten the delta. Like we don't want the difference between the best Lego and the worst Lego to be some massive Grand Canyon. We want to shorten those gaps, even though we understand there's always going to be a meta. There's always going to be certain heroes that are better and worse, but we do want to kind of condense it a little bit, maybe show some love to the heroes that are underwhelming right now for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think what you guys did really well, and I think many people will agree, is the way you set up the levels this time, right? That the drop rates really did change things up, where epic heroes were needed to be used. Like you needed certain epic heroes in your team to push through the 120s or push through even 90 for certain players, which was quite interesting. Was there epic heroes that you used more than others? And was that just because of their kit, or was it just because the other heroes just didn't fulfill that same role?
Probably the top 3 epic heroes I've used would be Beowulf, Achilles, and Pandora. And
Oh,
yeah, because Pandora has like you know a lot of that CC popping off and going crazy. Ematep, I tried in a few teams for the heals and everything that he kind of brings as a support, but that would be kind of the main ones I use as far as epics.
see, that's interesting because that is one hero I never used yet, Pandora properly. And I like the fact that you've used Pandora, because I think anytime me as a player trying to speak to other players playing Godforge, no one talks about Pandora and like what she actually provides to a team. So would you be able to give a bit more information, like what team you were using her and how to get actually like real advantage of this champion? Because I don't think players understand where to use her at the moment.
Yeah, so like you kind of like that. I guess I didn't also mention Mordred. I used
Yeah.
Mordred a fair amount, but yeah, so kind of like filling that role of needing to lock down can be really good in those PvE situations where you're going up against 4 or 5 enemies in wave content. Pandora is going to be doing a bunch of like random craziness, placing disables and kind of giving your team a chance to catch up. And she also generates divinity off of, you know, receiving debuffs and disables and all of that stuff popping off out on the map. So yeah, just kind of fills that like Scotty, Mordred, Pandora slot. I kind of like mixed in all of those 3 when trying to kind of figure out for each wave which one would be the best for like that CC, slow down the enemy team, let me catch up type of role.
Oh, honestly, that is so interesting because, like you say, for someone like myself who you know participated in the speed run and you know I finished 6th overall, I didn't look at Pandora at all, and obviously for me it was more Skadi and Mordred, as you mentioned. Both of these heroes have been exceptional, and I found it quite funny as I think on the last podcast you had with Shaman as well, mentioning that hey, this Alpha Wave 3 is going to be needing crowd control, guys. Like you ain't going to be able to nuke through like you did on Wave 1 or 2, which I found quite funny, and I obviously love to experience through that. So kind of like
Also, can you pull up Pandora and look at the generator for me? Because as you can see behind me, I've got my game up running. It's farming right now.
yeah.
What is her divinity generator there? on the
when plays
okay,
a
so
debuff. Yeah.
I have to be careful when I'm talking about stuff. Like I was like, oh, she gets because we have it's hard for me doing videos like this because we have like two different versions of the game. We have like the public facing alpha, and then we have like the game that we're preparing for live. So sometimes we're like changing generators or we're doing balance updates, and so I wanted to make sure I was right on her generator because I know we're going to be looking at generators and their role in the game and kind of updating a few of them and kind of changing some things.
Okay, that's quite obviously pretty sweet info. I think everyone's going to be excited to hear that, obviously, in the video. So, okay, let's talk about then just quickly. Obviously, you playing on you want to say the current version of Godforge compared to Alpha Wave 3. Is that kind of mind-boggling then for you? Because you are, if you want to say, in the current version, you know what heroes maybe are better, which are working as intended, compared to Alpha Wave 3. Is that like changing the way you have to obviously play the game? Is it that much of a difference or not?
I don't think so. Not really. I'm kind of used to it at this point after a year and a half. And no, it doesn't confuse me too much. I just have to make sure I keep track of like everything that's changed and what's different in the live version versus the the dev version that we call it. So yeah, I kind of have to keep the two in frame, but they do still kind of mostly align because we're going to be gathering a bunch of data before we really dive into making all sorts of crazy changes heading into the beta.
Sweet. So kind of finishing up on, I would say, like the character questions that I've got for you before we maybe like wrap up, because I don't want to take obviously too much of your time. I know you're a busy guy with Wave 3 kicking off and going into that beta, right? So is there a hero out of all of them that, excluding Loki, because obviously you can probably guess where I'm going to go with this, is there just one maybe legend that has underperformed compared to Wave 2? Because I know you said when we had our podcast about Dracula, and obviously Dracula not a place in the bleeds, but it seems like he's doing that now, and he's actually a really cool hero, right? He's actually pretty fun to play with, exactly how you guys wanted him to be kind of designed as, this ramper who can, get all the blood onto him and deal it all back out. Was there a hero out of all of them? It could be rare, it could be epic, it could be legendary. You can choose on which you just feel like hasn't hit the spot. Maybe either the kit doesn't feel like them, or you just felt like the kit was all underwhelming.
You kind of hit the main ones that I would want to really look at in terms of like Loki and Dracula. And for Dracula, we still might look at his core, because when you've got like a brawler or a slayer, it can be a little bit of a feels bad when they take a turn and don't deal any damage. So like it just takes Dracula a little bit too long to feel his presence on the battlefield. So we may look at that core where it's just like placing a bunch of bleeds and getting ready to convert stuff. We may look at that core also doing some damage, and getting Dracula out there on the field a little bit sooner instead of taking so long to ramp up. But I think you hit the main ones I would feel that are kind of like maybe needing a look. But it's also worth noting that, again, it's one of those things that you can get a little bit of a warped perspective on because there's only one specific game mode in alpha. So you may have heroes that would be really good in PvP or be really good versus different bosses other than Fafnir. They might bring super valuable roles and be super meta in other situations and other content. But in an alpha phase with just the caverns, you're not seeing all of the game. You're not seeing all of the content. So there are definitely some balanced things for us to look at in terms of giving some heroes some love now that we have a lot more data. But we do also have some more content coming to the game that will make some of these heroes shine a lot more than what you're seeing in the alpha.
Yeah, 100%. Because I made technically yesterday's video about the best starters, and I kind of brought that point up as you kind of mentioned there with the pool we've got, where look, I think anyone would kind of say Guan Yu has kind of stolen the spot.
I haven't seen your video. I haven't seen your video. Let me guess. I'm gonna say, so MrSneakyy ranking the starters. Let's do a fun game here. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm gonna say Guan Yu #1 because he's got the enemy max HP capabilities based on the basic with Drain. I'm gonna say you put #2 as Lady Jacques and #3 as Ramses.
You're wrong, bitch.
Very interesting. Kinda there. I did one Guan Yu and I flipped the other two.
Okay. So what was the reasoning on Ramses and
Because I think with Ramses, what I like a lot about him, especially as a starter hero, is he can still do kind of that percentage health damage with the acid, which is nice. And you'll realize in a lot of the content, there's shields are quite a big thing. So being able to burst through those shields was nice. But as I kind of mentioned in the video, is, you know, Guan Yu might be the king of caverns, but I do think the Ramses is going to be way better in PvP. Like being able to turn off certain players' armor sets that they're built for in PvP kind of sounds a little bit toxic and kind of up my alley, right? So that's kind of what I'm feeling. When you look at Lady Shark, I think she's good and she deals a lot of damage, but I don't know if it's because she stacks bleed where I'm having an issue with her, because obviously playing with the other heroes like Vlok is a really good example. Like if I really want to stack bleeds, I've got better heroes that stack bleeds. And I think that's my issue with Lady Shark. I actually think she's a fantastic hero. I actually think she does really big amounts of damage, which is really good because that kind of separates her out compared to Guan Yu, who can do really big bursts of damage, but it's more single because of his actual core that you take advantage of. But the fact that she, I don't know, I feel a little bit lost because she deals this damage, but the bleed stacking isn't really stacking as much bleed as you would hope as fast as you can to get some sort of payoff. It makes me feel like she's the weakest at the moment, but that's
yeah,
me.
Maybe her basic is too low of a chance to stack
Yeah.
a bleed. And then also we could maybe possibly look at her passive, giving her a little bit more of a boost, because right now I believe it's 2% damage increase for each stack of bleed, which if you stack up like 10 of them, you're getting a 20% damage increase. Whereas in that situation where you're stacking bleeds for damage, right now in the alpha, you'd probably rather just be like, okay, screw it, I'll take Achilles and I'll just kind of fill that with a different role. So maybe we bump that passive up, make it like 5% per stack of bleed. So now all of a sudden you're popping off at 50% if you get it up there around 10. So yeah, there's different ways to kind of look at that, but I kind of agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, because I think the one area that I did say, I think I hope I said it in the video, is that the one area I think she does do better technically than Guan Yu is if there was that raid-esque Hydra boss where you've got three or five Hydra heads, because being able to place bleed on multiple enemies is a lot better than placing bleed on just one enemy, right? So this is where I was kind of trying to be fair, where, okay, yeah, we can all agree Guan Yu's #1 in caverns, but that's kind of because he's built for the cavern experience, as you said earlier on in this video, right? Compared to Shock or Ramses, both of these heroes probably don't have their content that they're actually excelling in, and that's what's going to make it still, I think, quite interesting on global launch, which starter is going to be the one you pick, because depending which one you pick is going to be where you go down, right? It's going to be, do I go down the caverns first? Do I go down these dungeon bosses first? Do I go more about PvP first? So I think that was a fair way of looking at each of the starters for it all. So before we kind of wraps up things, one thing I did want to ask you, as I kind of mentioned in like the prep, was some tips. I know a lot of people probably watching this video as it goes live has, I think, 2 days left, which is Friday and Saturday, depending on their time zones that they're in, to complete all 150 stages. So is there a tip or trick, or maybe 2 tips and tricks that you'd like to just pass on to the viewer watching the video, and hopefully we can get them there. We can get them in that 1,000 list, because there's still some names up as I looked to grab. So anyone who's anyone can get there, right?
Yeah, I would say try to familiarize yourself with, if you're really looking to push and maximize, try to manual. I know that people really like to just kind of let it play on auto, but I probably wouldn't have even completed the caverns if I played on auto the whole time. It can be the difference between like literally 15 or 20 levels by kind of like understanding the flow of your team and who to target when, and kind of learning like, okay, I need to burst down this Isis, or I need to burst down this Sphinx so that they can't vanish everybody. Like learning some of those synergies and what the kits do and who to manually focus on and optimally run your team. That can really push you up like 10 or 15 floors if you're good at manualing and you kind of take the time to learn how to do that effectively. Other than that, yeah, as far as like a super obvious tip, like building an effective team for the right situation, like Achilles and placing bleeds might be great for helping you get through a boss, but maybe he's not super amazing in the waves. Similarly, you may notice that you want to do things with Achilles, like not use his ultimate, like just stack those bleeds with the basic, let those bleeds sit there and tick off on those bosses and get those chunks, which is another thing we're looking at, by the way. Like, we don't want players to have the experience of like, oh, I have this hero and I never want them to ult. Like that's just not hitting the mark. So we may look at something to do with Achilles' ultimate or with how bleeds work, because we do want players to feel like the ult is something you want popping off instead of like, oh, I don't ever want to use this. But
yeah,
I'm going off on a side tangent.
No,
Sorry.
it's fine. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. I love it. I think everyone's loving it because, like, I think what people are starting to realize, hopefully from the video, is like you are a player at the end of the day, like us, right? And you have the same kind of like frustrations where it's like, I love Achilles, but not using his ultimate is just infinitely better than using his ultimate, which is kind of, it upsets you, man. Like, you want to be able to do that, right? You want to be able to slap the boss with his triple hit combo and feel good about it, right? Every time. So honestly, I think everyone will appreciate those tips and tricks that you give there. And kind of, as we kind of said, guys, as my tip and trick, don't ult with Achilles. But if you are struggling on 120, the biggest thing to say in this video for anyone is simply make sure you're either reducing the damage or putting some sort of survivability onto your team, because a lot of the time you might have the damage to kill the Golden Guardian, but you don't have that survivability, the last 1% check, which is technically a mechanic and skill check to see do you understand how the boss works, right? So I think today's video has got, I think, everything in it, a bit of information on all the different heroes we've gone through. Obviously, Brad's experience here in the Godforge Alpha experience. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up things here, Brad?
Yeah, no, just a massive shout out. We're super fortunate to have such a passionate and robust community of so many content creators and so many players that are chomping at the bit. Like 5,000-10,000 players that are helping us fine tune things in alpha, and it's going to help us just make the game a lot better for beta and live. So thanks to all of you that are active in the Discord and the community and helping us kind of see what's good, what's bad, what's fun, what's not. What kits need to be adjusted, what things we need to look at, what quality of life you need. And by the way, there will be a lot more quality of life in the live game. Things like, oh, I hate it when Achilles ults. We'll probably have a way for you in game to turn off his ultimate or something. Like we're gonna have certain quality of life things that come to the game, and we're very cognizant of all that feedback for sure.
Hell yeah. So don't worry, guys. Everything's on its way. It's coming. We got to be patient, right? It's kind of the turtle and the hare race. Don't be the hare. We got to be the turtle. We got to be patient and make a good ass game, right? So thank you, Brad. Honestly, it's been fun making this video. Obviously, asking you questions about it. And guys, just to kind of give a bit of love to the Fateless crew, remember they are doing that limited edition Fafnir hoodie right now. Fafnir and Alpha Tester limited edition hoodies and merch all out. Check it out on the website. You can use MrSneakyy10 if you want. And with that, thank you guys. Smash the like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky.
Yep,
peace out.